I'm 23, a girl, and last night I had a talk with my dad that made me shiver. There is this hotel at the Bulgarian seaside in which we have an apartment. To be honest, that's a strong word for it, because it's just a big room with a giant bed, refrigerator, and a small bathroom. It's on the ground floor with windows facing the parking lot of the hotel. Despite all that, it's perfect for me alone. It's right next to the beach, and that's why I've been spending some of my summer vacations there. So, July, 3 years ago, I'm spending a week there with my boyfriend at the time, and 3 to 4 weeks alone after that. My boyfriend always said that the owners of the hotel are a bunch of creeps. Whenever we went out of the room, we had to walk through the lobby where they used to sit all day doing nothing. The old dad was about 60, his son Crumb, 40, his daughter, 45, and her husband. When you pass, they all get silent and stare at you every freaking time. I was used to it already, but my boyfriend was irritated, especially when he caught Crumb staring at me inappropriately and smiling. After that, he used to stare him down deadly, right in the eye, whenever he got the chance. So, my boyfriend goes back to the city, and it's now the third week I've been alone. This night is really hot, so I open both windows and use the curtains to prevent myself from being peeked at. After all, I am at ground level and my bed is right by both windows. I wake up in the middle of the night and feel like someone's watching me. This happens for the next few nights. I'm easily scared and paranoid, but I was alone there, so I've been telling myself to chill, and that it's just my crazy mind trying to scare itself. One night, it's around 1 a.m., I'm falling asleep, and I hear footsteps outside. It's not that weird. There are some people next to me staying at the same kind of apartment. Maybe someone's coming home or going out partying. But the steps stop at one point, really close to my window. I hear all of it because they're open. I sit up on the bed now and listen when I notice that my door handle is moving slowly up and down. I'm kind of losing my shit but trying to stay quiet, slightly relieved that I locked my door. After that, nothing happened and the person just walked away. I closed the windows, called my dad and told him what just happened. He told me to lock and close everything, and since it's a 5-hour drive, he said it'll take me in the morning. This was 3 years ago. Last night we're having dinner and my dad is like, "Do you remember your sea adventures?" And he proceeds to tell me that he has made his own little investigation back in the day and asked the owners of the hotel for security camera records. They check the ones at the parking lot and see a figure walking around. My dad tells him to check older records in which they all see a man getting at my window, peeking through the curtains, and just standing like that for over 20 minutes. That figure was Crumb. A woman I don't know links arms with me and wants to follow me 3 towns over. This happened a few years ago, but I sometimes still think about her. I'm non-binary, and at the time I was 20. I'm earning money for college by performing in cabaret shows in semi-big cities. My parents help out from time to time, but it's only enough to buy groceries and pay bills. I was on a bus on the way to the train station. I was then going to take the train a few towns over for a cabaret show. I was listening to music on my phone and had earphones in when the bus stopped at my station. There was an older woman, I'd say maybe in her mid-50s, immediately at the door outside to get in, and I felt her looking at me. Okay, it happens, and I do have a clothing style that is unique enough to earn me looks from time to time. When the bus door opened, I got out, and the woman was still watching me, turned to me, and tapped on my shoulder. I took out my earphones. I'll call her Leslie since she told me her name, but I forgot everything except that it started with an L. She started the conversation by saying, "Excuse me," to which I replied, "Yes." She said, "I just wanted to say you have such a unique style and it really stands out. I love it. You look like you're really creative." She seemed really genuine, and I was pretty happy about that compliment. So I responded by saying, "That's sweet, thank you. And yes, I earn money doing cabaret, so you're kind of right." She told me that was really interesting, and that she has to keep an eye out for posters here in Tivata. I told her, yeah, I'm on stage here quite often, but tonight it's not in Tivata, it's in Bogota. She said, "Oh, sounds like you're about to have a great evening." I said, "Yes, I am. The people there are wonderful." And then after that, she told me that she was coming with me. Now, hold on. Wasn't she just about to get on the bus that I got off of? The bus had already taken off at this point, and then I asked her, "Weren't you supposed to go somewhere?" And she said yes, to my friend's birthday, but I'll cancel. This sounds way more fun. Now, she had someplace to be, and now she just randomly decided to cancel her plans, get on a train with a stranger less than half her age, and ride for 3 towns over. I told her she wouldn't be able to get back afterwards because there's no train that late at night, and I have a place to sleep. Then she was silent. She looked as if she started thinking, and I thought that she changed her mind for a second, but then she smiled again. Then she said, "It's fine, I have a son living there." And upon hearing this, I immediately thought she was lying. I was immensely weirded out, but still not freaking out. I started walking off since I still had to get on the train. Leslie took this as a sign of me agreeing and came with me. I know she was talking the whole way to the subway and that she was walking pretty slowly. I didn't have to rush to the station. I was pretty early, in fact, wanting to grab dinner on the way, which I mentally wrote off at this point. But the way she held me back was by linking arms with me and holding on tight. I tried my hardest to stay calm. Whenever she asked me anything, I lied. Sitting at the subway station, there was a pretty well-known homeless person of our town. We had never talked, but I knew his face, and he has always been polite. Leslie apparently did know him and got distracted immediately, letting go of my arm. She started talking to the man, John, for a little bit, asking him how he was, and him telling her that he's doing his best, but things were obviously shitty at the moment. I didn't stick around to hear the rest of the conversation, and I started jogging, then running inside the train station. I no longer wanted to stop for dinner anymore, afraid that Leslie would find me again, so I immediately ran inside the train. It would be driving off in 15 minutes, which freaked me out even more since she would have plenty of time to get on. So I did what I thought was best and hid in the train restroom until it drove off. Then, and only then, would I get out and sit down. I had to change trains once and felt watched the entire time. But as far as I knew, Leslie was gone. I don't know if I'm being paranoid, but I think someone has been watching my family at night. My wife and I recently purchased our first home after the birth of our daughter. Everything was as you would expect the first few months. Painting, decorating, renovating, basking in our newfound slice of the American dream. You get the idea. Unusual things started happening several months ago. One day, as I was getting home after work, I passed by a strange truck 2 or 3 houses down from ours, and the truck was driving very slowly, like put it in drive but don't press on the gas slowly. As I pulled in the driveway, the truck made a U-turn and came back towards our house. Getting out of my car, the truck crawled by and the driver stared daggers at me as he passed, then sped off. I don't like to judge based on appearances, and I like to think that I don't scare easily, but something about this guy's eyes gave me a bad feeling. Obviously, this was weird. I mentioned what happened to my wife, telling her we should be more mindful about security. When I told her the type of truck, my wife said, "That same truck drove by and the guy stared at me when I got home this afternoon." I thought he was just being creepy and checking me out. I tried to tease her a bit to lighten the mood, calling her cocky for assuming any guy driving by was checking her out. I really just didn't want to freak her out because I was definitely freaked out myself. We saw the truck a few more times over the next couple of weeks, either driving by slowly or parked down the block and facing our yard. But one day, the truck stopped driving by and we haven't seen it since. I sort of dismissed the whole thing as me being paranoid. Then, other things started happening. In the past month or so, my wife and I have been hearing tapping on the windows at the front of our house at night. It's happened 2 or 3 times to each of us separately, always around 10 or 11 p.m., and always a soft but distinct tap, 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 tap. It sounds like knocking with a single knuckle on the metal part of a screen door, if that makes sense. The first time that my wife and I heard the tapping together was last weekend. We were in the front room playing with our daughter at around 9:30, just about to settle her down for bed. Our front room has a large, almost floor-to-ceiling window running the length of the wall next to the front door, which faces the street. We were all sitting on the floor with our backs to the window, reading our daughter a book, when we heard it. Now, our house is older. Creaks and cracks are not uncommon, but this sound was so distinctly intentional that my wife and I immediately looked at each other and bolted up out of the room. I had my wife and daughter lock themselves in a back room while I turned on all the lights and did a sweep around the outside of the house. Of course, I didn't see anything and was ready to dismiss the whole thing as more paranoia over something that probably had an innocent explanation. Until last night. Around 9:45, we heard our daughter making noise in the baby monitor. I waited a few minutes to see if she would settle down, but when it became clear she wouldn't, I got up to put her back to sleep. I was sitting in a chair, getting my daughter settled down. I had a lamp on so the room was softly lit. Once she fell asleep, I stood up to put her in her crib when something caught my eye. There was a figure standing about a foot away from the window in the bare space between the shrubs and the house. They were staring right at us. I didn't look long enough to see anything more than what appeared to be a man in a light gray hoodie standing a few feet away on the other side of the glass. Sprinting from the room, I brought my daughter back to my wife and I's bedroom, leaving her there while telling my understandably confused wife to lock the door. After turning off all the lights inside the house and turning on all the lights outside, I began moving from room to room. Peering out the windows into the darkness, I couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. Whoever it was must have taken off after seeing me notice them and made a quick exit. Obviously, I had some trouble sleeping after this. I spent hours checking security cameras and going from room to room, looking out windows into the night, hoping, but also not hoping, that I would see anything that could explain what happened. This morning, I went outside to the spot where the figure would have been standing. I thought, maybe there was a plant or something that I mistook for a person. When I got to the spot, I concluded there was a figure standing there, as it was evident by the bare patch of ground directly in front of that window.